Yeah. So for me, one, I was able to recognize that I had estrogen dominance, and then I was able to use the tools that you provided with to us to address the estrogen dominance, and I was able to balance my hormones in 6 months through nutrition, lifestyle changes, and some supplementation as well. So it was great.
Yeah.
And then as far as my clients, once I will say that when I did first start to implement the things that you taught us that I was doing with myself, and I started having my clients do it as well, I was a little still like doubtful of
Mhm.
it until I actually experienced it myself, where I was like, okay, this stuff actually works. And then I've that I also feel has been helpful for my clients as well to have more social proof and more
Yeah.
evidence and just more background,
Mhm.
just more solid background to know that like, okay, we are on the right path. And even though it's hard to like have quantifiable or I guess visible data, um, it's still, the changes are still happening.
Yeah, the changes are still happening and hormones are so elusive, right? Like we have the subjective and the objective measurements, and the subjective measurements are like, okay, like how terrible is our PMS, right? And like how
Mhm.
bad are our cramps? And I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of your early on wins were that you were having reduced cramps. Is that right?
No, it was the breast tenderness.
It was the breast tenderness, right? Yeah. And that was
Yes.
one of the subjective things that I was like, okay, you are definitely on the right path. Keep going.
Mhm.
And it takes time to balance our hormones, right? But yeah, you were on the right path and you stuck with it. And that was such a tangible result. And then, like, you went and got your labs done too. Can you speak a little bit about that?
For sure. Yeah, so I had gotten before, like, I think it was right around when we started, I'd got labs done
Yeah.
just to see, it was about time. I usually get them every 6 months.
Hmm.
And I mainly had even, I think the whole estrogen dominance started because when I found out I had high cholesterol last October, I went plant based to help improve that. And then I was eating a whole lot of soy. And I think that really contributed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
So I
sure.
think that really contributed to the estrogen dominance. So then once I started working with you, I stopped being plant based. And, um, and then when I got the labs done, we saw, yeah, estrogen dominance, which we knew from all my symptoms.
Mhm.
And then in last month, when I got them retested, I was actually frustrated initially because I thought that I hadn't fixed it yet. I
Mhm.
did, like, there's like a conversion that you do to make sure that, because they measure it in different units,
Yeah.
the progesterone and the estradiol. So then I did the conversion and I had gotten it backwards. I thought that above 100 meant that I was still estrogen dominant, but it was not. It was above 100 is you're good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then when I saw it, and I was like, oh, so I was frustrated at first. I was like, what the heck? I've been doing this for 6 months. I was like, all this stuff. And then I figured it out. I'm like, oh, wait, just kidding. We're good. And it
Yeah.
was great.
That's awesome. Yeah. That can be a difficult situation of like reading labs and then being like, oh man, but you felt better in your body. I remember you saying that in your luteal phase, like you were feeling a little bit better. Um, so
Yeah.
it's so cool to have that objective data and so empowering.
Mhm. Yeah, there was like one luteal phase. It was after I went on a trip to Spain, where of course in that trip I wasn't able to eat, all the cruciferous veggies and do all of the things, estrogen balancing basics. And I was drinking more alcohol than I normally do.
Mhm.
I didn't have any caffeine, but I was just doing things out of the ordinary. And the period after that was rough. That one was in July, so I was like, oh gosh, like, did I just set myself back a lot? And then in August, when I got my blood work done, I didn't. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And
Yeah.
ever since then, it's been totally fine.
And amazing evidence for your clients too, to like to see that, like being like, oh, you can still live your life, enjoy your life, and if you are working on balancing your hormones, like that can still happen as you're living your
Mhm.
life. And
Mhm.
yeah, your period is your insight to your overall health, but even if that would be rough, it doesn't mean that you've like totally set yourself back. So I
Mhm.
love that you bring that up.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, what would you tell someone who is considering investing in the academy?
I would tell them to definitely consider it because it has definitely provided me with a lot of background knowledge and tools. And I now feel like I am so much better equipped to handle those stubborn clients that aren't, that are stuck even though they're doing all of the right things. And it has just provided me with so much more knowledge. And honestly, the ongoing support is a huge plus. How we have that Facebook group, I'm always popping in random questions. Like you helped me find the research articles earlier this week, which was super helpful. So I love that it's like an ongoing access thing, because I remember like towards the end of like when I finished watching all the modules and everything, and I thought we were being kicked out, so I didn't post in the Facebook group. I was like, she's gonna notice. And then you said something about that we still have access, and I was like, great. And then
Yeah.
so that was really really great too, because if anything comes up that I'm like,
Yeah.
we still have the videos and everything, but we can still show up to the Zoom calls and
Mhm.
also just post to the Facebook group too. So I think that it's definitely worth it. And if you are, you know, at a point in your coaching career that you feel like you need to elevate, this is the next move.